What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode of Reacts with Coach Jon. Today, can the keto diet kill you? Alright guys, as you can see, a new setup. This is going to be a new thing. I want to start reacting to keto videos. I was trying to figure out a way of getting my opinion out there, and I feel like this is such a vast space, and there's so many opinions that I thought, what better way to start talking about and carving my place going into 2021 than reacting to other people's videos. So I thought this would be great. Today we are doing a doctor that is going to be talking about, can the keto diet kill you faster? It's a meta-analysis video on YouTube. I'm really interested to get into it. So as you can see, we have the credentials above, my Purdue University, my Blue Collar Award, and my certification of completion of nutritional therapy. We have the essential oils going, a nice little color. Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun. Let me preference, I am not a doctor. I'm not medically licensed. I do not diagnose nor treat symptoms. I simply am giving you my personal experience and my certified nutritional therapy experience and education as an opinion that you can take with you if you like. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right.
Hey guys, I'm Siobhan, a second-year medical resident. Today we're tackling a super controversial issue, and that's the keto diet. The question is the keto diet actually making you live longer, or could it be actually killing you faster?
The keto diet is a very low carbohydrate diet. About 75% of calories come from fat.
So, yes and no. About 75 calories do come from fat, but I mean, not necessarily always, right? So bio-individuality matters here. So let's preference that real quick. Like, if you're not focused on like what the unique person needs and you give them wrong macros for them, it could cause irritation. It could cause hormone dysfunction and dysregulation. It could cause stress, which is going to change over time how long they live, their longevity, right? If they have inflammation and cholesterol buildup over time, if inflammation goes away and cholesterol is able to run freely and not plaque up, right? Like there's so many variables that go into this, that studies that start with these really broad terms or just kind of like going from these broad terms can really skew the results from a bio-individual standpoint.
20% from protein and only 5% from carbs. It's become one of the most popular diets online, and it's been praised for weight loss, heart health, diabetes management, and some even believe it fights cancer. But others think it's probably...
Fight cancer is a really broad term. It's more of like, it has been shown that cancer cells really use glucose for fuel, and so they have a hard time processing ketones. So having a diet that's primarily fat-fueled and ketone-fueled, you tend to impede on the cancer's ability to eat and grow. How much of that is actual true, it varies from case to case. People have used it inside cancer stories, and they've seen the cancer go into remission, and then other people, it hasn't affected them. So some people claim it can like starve cancer. I wouldn't say fight it. It doesn't like attack the cancer cells, but more of like keep it from eating and growing.
Just a fad diet, and it's just gonna come and go.
Just this week, there was a groundbreaking article from The Lancet which totally changed the conversation. It's an article that looked at how much carbohydrates people are eating and if that affected life expectancy. By the end of this video, you should be able to make an educated decision about what you want to do with your diet. And then I'm going to urge you to share this with people you care about, because this could actually affect how long they live.
I like the violin.
So those of you who've been following my journey in the hospital as a new doctor know that about 6 weeks ago I started the keto diet. And the reason I did that is because overnight I find there are just so many chips and snacks and candy, and this whole year I just feel like I have strayed from my normal habits, and so I kind of just needed like a reset, and I figured that keto would do that. And it did. Like, I lost a couple of pounds that I put on last year, and I haven't been having sugar cravings. It was great. So this week, when I was flipping through my computer, I saw this article, and I figured it was gonna tell me that the lower the carbs you eat, the longer you live, but that's not exactly what it says. So the study started about 30 years ago when they recruited a whole bunch of adults from 4 different communities in the US. They recruited about 15,000 adults and then had them do surveys, and they kept track of their health, and they tracked them over about 30 years.
So many things to think about here. One, tracked health, does that mean they were keeping them healthy, or they were just watching their health? Because if there are smokers involved in this and things like that, and they're not like looking at percentages in terms of like who smoked, who didn't, they're not looking at underlying causes beyond just food, but they're more looking at this broad term, like, okay, did they eat less carbs? Then there's a lot of loopholes there that could be contradicting things. It's kind of like, you know, the whole animal-based, but they ate McDonald's burgers kind of idea or point. It's just, I don't feel like it holds a lot of, it's not as valid as it could be. But they usually esteem it to very high on the totem pole in terms of like evidence, but it's just, there's so many gaping holes.
So let's pretend these Skittles represent the people in the study. First, let's divide them into the amount of carbs they eat in a day. The yellow ones are the low carb group, and so these people got less than 40% of their calories from carbs. The green ones are the moderate carb group, so these guys got about half of the calories from carbs. And the red ones are the high carb group, where they got over 70% of their calories from carbs.
All right, so already this is messed up. 40%? Do you know how many carbs that is? Like, if they're eating really bad fats, like if they're eating like 40% carbs, like if they're eating 2,000 calories a day, that's like 200 grams of carbs, somewhere in there. Like, that's not keto. That's not even close to ketogenic. That's not even close to fat adapted. They are not metabolically flexible if they're eating that many carbs every day. And what are they eating? What kind of carbs are they eating? See, this is, I don't know, man. The level of control on these kinds of studies is so bad. And they use these broad results with these so many like uncontrolled scenarios. It's just, I don't think that this deems a ketogenic diet as not creating longer life expectancy at all. Like, I don't like where this is going already.
Of course, this is a simplified model, and in the study they worked with really fancy statistical models to get lots of accurate information. So looking at mortality within these groups, it turned out the low carb group and the high carb group actually died faster than that middle green group. So it looked like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The middle 50% carb group actually lived the longest.
Again, I want to see, okay, let's plot the cigarette smokers, let's plot their level of activity, let's plot all those things on the graph as well, and then we'll see the kind of correlation. And I understand they're trying to isolate carb intake, but if they were going to do that, then they should make sure that everybody is eating properly, they're eating enough, and they're eating high quality foods of what they're eating. Let's get these people to a whole foods, healthy diet, then regulate macro ratios. Then we'll see, you know, like this is so new, this is so broad. There's no nuance to it at all. It's just way too much of a broad. There's like no narrow fields to really say, okay, carb intake lower kills you faster. There's no, yeah.
And you can see that it has this U shape, and we actually call that a U-shaped relationship.
They're estimating that in the low carb group and the medium carb group, that was almost a 4-year difference in their life expectancy. That's like high school. That's university. That's so many life experiences. That's huge. I mean, we can't ignore that. Definitely not what I expected. Definitely a huge...
Again, I don't think that low carb, I don't think that this is really a good representation of the ketogenic diet at all. But to use to scare people out of doing higher fat because they're like, oh, that's college. Well, life expectancy towards the end of their life, not while they're in college. So, you know the difference between 80 years and 84 years, or 96 years and 100 years. Like that kind of actually use actual I don't know, people use not people are saying 4 years of life expectancy, and they're talking about examples of experiences of life that happen way before you reach the point in which this life expectancy meter would matter. But anyways.
Huge shock to hear. So So then the next logical question is, if you have lower carbs, you're eating more fats and proteins, does it matter what types of fats and proteins you're actually eating? So they went back to the database and they looked at all the people and they wanted to see the group that eats mostly animal products. So they're eating meats and cheese, lamb, pork, beef, chicken, all of that, compared to the people who are eating plant-based proteins and fats. So they're eating nuts and peanut butters and seeds and they're having lots of vegetables. And unfortunately, all those meat lovers out there, it was very clear that people eating plant-based proteins and fats were living longer than those.
Okay, there's so many things to look at here. One, the meat-based people. What were the carbs that were associated with this meat? Also, what was the quality of the meat? Plant-based people tend, when they do eat carbs, they tend to be from vegetables and things like that. They tend not to eat white bread and things like that. But if somebody's eating, let's say, a meat-based diet and they're eating less than 40% from carbs, but they're still having a white bread sandwich for lunch, that's going to make them significantly less healthy than the plant-based person that, even though they're eating plant-based proteins and fats, their carbs that they are eating, which are still over 40%, or at 40%, which is still a huge margin of error in terms of retrospect to the ketogenic diet. There's so many,
who ate the animal proteins and fats. And that's tough for me. I actually really love a good steak. Oh boy. Oh. So you might be thinking, hold on, Siobhan, I don't live in one of those 4 communities in the US. Maybe these results don't really apply to me. Like me, I live in Canada. I don't live in the US. But the authors were smart and they thought of this. So they did what we call a meta-analysis, where they took studies that were similar and had results from all around the world and put it all together to see if those results hold true. So when they took the data from other parts of North America, Europe, Asia, they found the same results. People eating the plant-based diets were living longer. So I really don't think that we can ignore these results. Okay, so after all of this, what is the main take-home message? Basically, you probably shouldn't be eating a low-carb diet that's high in meat products, because it would seem these people are actually dying faster.
What is a low-carb diet? Is a low-carb diet only less than 40% carbs? That is not a low-carb diet.
Is that the end of keto? Well, if you choose to do keto, the recommendations from this study would be that you should be making it all about plant-based protein. So lots of nuts and vegetables and healthy oils. That's what you should be getting your protein in.
What I find funny is she showed cashews, which are they're in the same family as poison ivy, which I don't eat them a lot, but it's just funny that that's the nut. Why not show macadamia nuts or something that has omega-7s and way more omega-3s and an actual healthy nut. But anyways, I don't really agree with what she's saying right now.
And your fats from. So basically, don't make the mistake of thinking that keto is just about bacon and fat and grease.
Okay, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good thing to talk about. Keto is not about bacon, fat, and grease. Whole foods matter. Making sure you're feeding yourself the right minerals, nutrients, proteins, high-quality fats, and the carbohydrates that you don't want to eat, or when you do eat them, that they're high quality and that they have a purpose, is super important. It's not just eat bacon, fat, and grease. 100% agree with that. There's so much more that goes into a healthy, holistic lifestyle than just eating bacon and frying eggs in the bacon fat that renders out. 100%.
Because that's probably not the healthiest thing for you. Okay, so now that we have the information, we need to decide how are we going to actually change our own behaviors to reflect what we believe. And I swear, that is the hardest thing, is actually changing your behavior. So, with you guys as my witness, here is my plan. I am going to be focusing on the sources and the types of foods that I'm eating rather than sort of counting carbs. I'm going to be making sure I'm minimizing the amount of meats and animal products that I'm eating. I also need to minimize the huge amount of carbs that I think I was eating before with all those treats in the middle of the night and the sugar and the candy. So we know high carb isn't good either. And I'm gonna try to hit that sweet spot of carbs by having lots of vegetables and legumes and all those things that I actually love, but I just need to make sure I prep and plan in advance so that they're ready for me to have in the day.
So we see this a lot, right? Where, so you have people like, you have standard American diet, plant-based keto, animal-based keto. I feel like that's kind of the tier in terms of like optimal dieting. And we see people have the standard American diet, and instead of going to keto, they'll go to vegan or plant-based, and they'll remove the refined white bread sugar and carbs and the animal products and go plant-based. And they feel 10 times, 100 times better. And they think that because they removed both, that both are culprits. But they never reintroduce the meat. They just assume that it's bad at that point. And I'm telling you, from what I've studied, from the things I've looked into, from my education, it's not the meat that's the problem. It was the white bun. And I know you took both away and you felt better, but it's because you took the white bun away. You took the vegetable oils away and you got more whole food based. If you reintroduced healthy quality meat, you would feel probably 10 times better. You would probably get some vitamins and minerals, some B12s that you've been having to take synthetically, iron that you've been having to find in other forms that aren't as bioavailable, just better all around. So I think that that's nuanced as well, because, you know, if you go from standard American to vegan, you're going to feel better. But people tend to blame that on the meat that they removed. But really, it was everything else that encapsulated that meat product.
What's your plan gonna be? If you wanna commit to something, write it in the comments below. I will read it, I'll be your witness. And I know it's gonna be a controversial topic, so hit me with your comments. I actually wanna start a discussion, a dialogue. I will read your comments and I wanna hear what you have to say. And then I want you to send this video to people that you care about, because looking at this evidence, you can see that making changes now could actually save them years on their life. Anyway, next week I'll be seeing you guys.
All right, so let's look at the actual study. When she linked it. She linked it. All right, let's go. I'm ready. I'm so excited right now. Okay. We studied 15,000 adults. Okay, look at this. Who did not report extreme caloric intake? Right here. Look at that. Less than 600 calories. That's crazy. Okay, so right there already. Like, so that means if they were eating 800 calories, they didn't care. What? All right, that's such an issue, because, I mean, if you're underfeeding like that, hormones, inflammation, all that can dictate. And what we eat can be involved in that, but if you're not eating enough and you're causing a lot of stress and chronic stress and hormonal downregulation or dysregulation in your body from malnourishment, I mean, yeah, your life expectancy is going to be shortened. What? The caloric intake of a 4-year-old is supposed to be 1,400 calories. Like, keep that in mind. Okay. Methods. I'm finding. Oh, look at that. Carbohydrate intake. Only 30%. That's crazy. That's so high. That is not keto. Like, even on my targeted keto days, I still only eat like 13% carbohydrates, and it's like 100 grams of carbs. Like, yeah, no, crazy. Okay. Oh, this is where it's gonna get interesting. Okay, men, women, do. Okay. Let's look. All right, here's where the men, 37%. Yeah, the lowest was 37%. That's crazy. All right, race, BMI, diabetes. 13% of them had diabetes. That matters, right? Because that means the quality of their food is probably subpar. 30% had hypertension, which is nuts. It totally shows like a sign of inflammation in arterial walls. Like, what were the kinds of foods these people were eating? 33% were current smokers. 35% were former. So we have either caused condition or pre-caused condition. That's crazy. I want to see 32%. Give me those 988 people, and then I want to see what they looked like. And also, make the low-carb group less than 15% carbs. Then we'll get an accurate testament if keto impedes on life expectancy. Average total intake is 1,500. Guys, that's not okay. See right there. there's so many things wrong with this. There's so many things wrong with this. And that's why it's good to look at these kinds of studies with a much broader point of view. Because there's so many things missing here. Like, why were they under eating? They were probably malnourished at this point. What was their activity level like? Do they put that? I'm wondering. Highest exercise activity. 15% had the highest exercise activity. That's nothing. Some of these people probably weren't even active. Talk about, like, they're not active. They're eating only like less than 40% carbohydrates for the low carb group. They're not conditioning them to look at quality of carbohydrates or fats or proteins. They're just letting them either eat meat or plant-based. So many variables, so many things that can skew these results. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this study at all, but okay. All right, so that's it for this reaction. I really enjoyed the doctor. I'm definitely going to give her a follow on Instagram. She seems like she really genuinely cares about her people. I feel like when it comes to the nuances of the ketogenic diet and really understanding the relationship between carbohydrate intake, fat intake, and the quality of both, there's a lot of things that were underviewed and under-focused in the study. I feel like they were really looking at it from a broader point of view, and they were not looking at what a ketogenic diet really is in retrospect to what they were doing in this control. I don't feel like the participants were controlled very well. I don't feel like the smoking, the quality of the foods were taken into consideration, activity level, all these things that matter, that create metabolic health and put us in an environment to thrive, were not considered. And so I really don't like the study. I don't feel like it does the keto diet justice. In fact, I don't think it does any kind of life expectancy thing justice based on what diets are good for you long term. When we're looking at the standard American diet, yes, if they're eating 30% fat, 30% carbs, they're probably not going to live as long as somebody just eating more carbs, or somebody, eating more carbs and getting less fat, because if inflammation's there but the fat intake is low, then the chances of technically having maybe some plaque buildup might be minimized, maybe not. There's no correlation between dietary cholesterol and serum cholesterol, but yeah, that's a whole other conversation. So those are my thoughts. That's my reaction, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like these kind of videos, like, subscribe, put a comment in the comment section below. Link a video, a keto, body image, body positivity, any of those kind of things. I love talking about eating disorders. Put a link in the video in the description below, and I will react to it. All right, guys, I love y'all. Till next time.